Regular select board meeting to order, December 7th, 2023. First order of business, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first order of business, the next is a public comment. Sue?
I have one question. I wasn't here the last time. I mentioned about the handicap parking over to the arena. I have not heard an answer. I was wondering if it's going to be added on, handicap parking. Maybe Ty can answer that question. I don't know. I never got any answer back, so I'm just wondering.
Ty, do you have anything, or?
Last I knew, we were going to stay at the 4 spots.
Okay.
And that's the last I knew.
Okay, my second question.
Yeah.
They're willing to stay in the 4 spots, but you guys are willing to put electrical station up there and take away handicap parking. A lot of Highgate residents, I've talked to a lot of Highgate residents, they are dead set against that.
Okay.
Number one,
Sue, who told you that?
I'm just saying, you
Who
guys,
told you that?
when I
they
was
were gonna
here
take
about a
away
month or
that?
so ago, you said something about putting the electrical station in there for the plug-in cars. Was that correct, or was I misunderstood?
That's correct, but
Okay.
it didn't say anything about taking away a handicap
Okay,
spot.
but you're willing to leave, I'm just asking because this has been brought to my attention by a lot of Highgate residents.
Yeah.
You're willing to put electrical unit, but you're not willing to put any extra handicap parking. And that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
I think we're just talking about it right now, Sue, and all, no, I don't think
I'm
nothing's
just
been
bringing it to my
finalized
attention. I
or.
talked to a lot of Highgate residents, and a lot of Highgate residents are dead set against that electrical. And when I told them the reason why, there's a lot of handicapped people that go to that arena, and I'm afraid one of these days, somebody's gonna fall, then you guys are gonna wake up. That's my concern, my only concern.
And I think, Sue, right now, I think we've talked about it
We
and,
have talked about
you
it.
know, and I think we don't have a lot of space over there. And, you know.
First did it, they had, her first row was all handicapped. Kevin Spears was here one night at the meeting, and he said when they first opened, it was a whole row of handicapped with the number 1, with the rescue squad there. Kevin was here that night, I was
Yeah.
here at that meeting.
Yeah,
I'm just bringing this to my attention because I hate to see somebody fall.
but I don't want nobody to fall either, Sue, you know.
Well, I'm not parking over to the school this year, so
Okay.
I will be there earlier this year. I cannot park over to the school, number 1. I've been told by my doctor I cannot park and fall this year. I will be back in the hospital. And I've been a supporter for that ring for 35 years.
Yeah, and I know you have, Sue, and, you know, you're our messenger and everything. Maybe with the board on the vote and give you a parking place.
That would be good because
You know,
I cannot fall. I can't fall.
Yeah, I know, I understand, you know, I just,
I'm petrified of falling.
yeah, and the board will talk about it again, and we'll talk with Ty, and, okay?
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Just on that real quick, didn't we, how many spots were there now? 2, right?
4.
4? Didn't we double the spots or something? Well, we talked about doubling the spots,
Yes, that's
right?
correct.
Okay. I don't think we ever talked about putting electric on one of the spots.
Way down to the end, way down to the end. But could be
You know,
parking, extra
Okay.
parking.
Yeah, I don't see a sacrificing a handicap spot for electric car parking.
Richard, we did talk to the school, and we're seeing if we can get the high schoolers to park at the element. And we talked to the coaches from NBU to see if we could get the high schoolers to park
That would help.
at the elementary school on the evening home game on Saturdays.
Yep.
We don't know if it'll work.
That would
At
help
least they
you
know
guys.
where to park
Yes.
when they park out back there, where the general public would make it probably worse, but
Yep,
it's an
Okay.
option we talked about.
okay.
Thank you for doing that, Ty. It's just, I see so many older people go through
Yeah.
that, and I just hate to see somebody fall. That's all I'm concerned about.
Yeah. I'm with you, Sue.
Okay, thank you.
So block the road.
Okay. Any other public comment? Ty?
I was talking to a gentleman that had a concern about the Maury Road end of Brusso Road. There's been a lot of cars running through the stop sign and ending up on his front lawn.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we want to put some reflective signs straight in front or the more predominant stop sign. I told him I'd bring it up for him,
Okay,
that it's an issue. It
okay,
happened again this week.
okay.
I don't know what night it was.
Are you talking Brusso Road at the end of 207?
No,
The other end.
The other end.
That happened at 207 the other night.
Yeah, they should both have that night.
Okay, yeah, I'll bring it up to Nick.
okay.
and we'll talk about it. Anything else? Public comment? Okay. We're moving along. Swanton Town Village discussion. A police, decision. And we'll talk about the sheriff's department proposal. And it talked about a constable. Okay? Earl, do you want to start?
Yeah, I've got some, yeah, I got these going each way like you used to play hay.
Yeah.
There's 5 of them here, and I'll give the rest of them to you. That's 3 different crops.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me come here tonight, and you got quite a crowd. Actually, you got more people here than we do in Swan. But, it's, you know, this issue of policing, I know, is an issue for both for our communities. And as you notice on here, Swanton Village has proposed a project. You know, some of it has to do with policing, some of it has to do with a new building for the fire department, which doesn't really concern the Highgate. The policing issue, though, we've had a couple of public hearings, and the cost is quite high. Hasn't been proposed now. If it was just going to be Swanton County, Swanton Village, we would have 24, they call it 27 coverage, 7 days a week, which we don't have now. But the cost with the new facility and the bond payment is fairly high. It would be, across the grand list in Swanton, it would be 41 cents. So if you're looking at a $250,000 house, $180,000 in that range, you're looking at $1,000 plus a year just for police coverage. Which I'm sure is considerably higher than what you're paying now, and that is considerably higher than what town residents in Swanton are paying. But we don't get 27 coverage. We've been only be getting 8 hours, 7 days a week. So you know, the select board, we're concerned about this. You know, what we can do. Getting police services is not easy. As you know, from you had a contract with St. Albans City. I know there's a sheriff's department, but they struggle to keep officers. You know, and if you all remember, it was just a couple of years ago, I believe, maybe less than that they had to cancel their contract with Georgia because of that issue. So I thought this might be the time to have a discussion together as 2 towns to see if there was something that we could do to make what the village is proposing affordable for all of us. Undoubtedly, if whatever we do is, you're gonna be spending more money than you are now. And I can't tell you, you know, it's gonna be more, but I think we can do something that'll be not as costly as what's being proposed right now. But I believe we're gonna need partnership with Highgate in order to accomplish that. If you look at the page here, the one with the, this one with the numbers are. What they got, I think what we ought to concentrate now on is the second bracket. And if you notice up at the top, it says, and this is for 2025, none of this would happen until 2025. It's a 10-hour per day contract, which is, you know, that wouldn't be the 27th. Now the cost for that is almost 500,000. But that's, would get it down to around 18 to maybe 20 cents, but I think it's gonna be less than 20 cents on our tax rate. Now, I don't know what your grand list value is here in Highgate, so it would affect you different. The only thing that might make it more reasonable is this village bond payment. And that's a sticking point for even a lot of residents in the town of Swan, because essentially we are paying for the majority of the building. And I don't think it's gonna go over very popular in Highgate either, having that. But maybe we haven't had a real good discussion yet about this with the select board, but I did, you know, they're all aware of what's going to take place here tonight. That's something that we have to maybe not be part of your cost, or it's certainly a hell of a lot less than what it is here, because that bond payment alone is $306,000. Now, it's possible that bond won't be that much, you know, obviously they're looking for money, grants, and all kinds of programs out there. So that may bring down the cost of this, of the bond payment, but what my real concern is, right at the present time, the police chief that is running the Swan Village Department is doing a good job. And they are fully staffed, they call it minimal fully staffed. And it doesn't seem to be an issue with this department at this present time, and I believe if it goes forward and with the present leadership, it's going to stay that way. My thought was that maybe if you were willing to consider at least the other 10 hours that we can't afford, okay? So that the police department in itself would be able to go ahead with the plans as is. And then we hopefully could get the village at least a compromise sum on this cost of this building, because the other side is the fire department. That's going to have a big impact in Swan, you know, for everybody in Swan. The total bond that they're proposing is $19 million.
That's just for the building?
Yeah, police and fire.
That's not their rehab and on the other building?
Yes, I think that you're right, Sharon. I believe you're right. And actually, the portion that is being billed in here is only for the cost of the police facility itself. It doesn't include the fire or the renovations to the complex. So this is where we are. You know, we all have this problem. And it's never going to be cheap, because if you look at the other page back here, that the board had Brian look up, you know, just to see, I mean, are we way out of line on coverage costs? And this is only based on per capita too. This is not having to do with any town grand list, because that would have been too much extensive research to do. It's based on population. And if you look at them costs, you see they vary some, but if it's averaged out, if you look at the cost of what is considered full-time coverage, we're pretty competitive. You're not going to find that any cheaper. So, I don't know. You know, I mean, maybe the sheriff department can give you guys a better deal. One of my concerns is that that might be something that people in Swan push, and because the Swan situation is town and village, but in reality, the select board represents everybody in Swan, you know, because the village is part of the town. And this could be a tremendous burden for those village residents if we can't pull something together. Now, I know that doesn't concern you guys, but the coverage in police services do concern me. And it's a legitimate one, and our board is really kind of struggling right now because we've heard from the residents, and legitimately they're telling us, the majority of them, that they just can't do this much. And we've got other issues. I mean, you guys are all aware of what's happening at the state level. And even if it's only 75% as bad as they're predicted, it's still gonna, you know, when you're looking at $400 or $500 jump on just one thing in 1 year, that's a real impact for a lot of people, you know, a lot of hard-working people. So if you got any more questions, I'm glad to answer them. I'll answer them as best I can. I'm not speaking for the village, I'm speaking for the town, who has the same problem you guys have.
So, Curly, you're proposing that you're gonna go with your 70-hour week, and you want Highgate to take 10 hours?
No, this proposal, right, Highgate would end up with 70 hours too. Well, because they wanna go with the full facility, you know, the full staff, you know, they wanna amp up to that. And it would take, instead of us getting 20 hours, you'd have 10 and we'd have 10. And we'd share the cost, the exception would be the bond payment. And that, there's gonna be some cost of operation in there, so in reality, there's probably gonna be some money put in by Highgate to pay for that building. I'm not gonna tell you that's not gonna happen, okay? You know, but I think long-term, this is we're all gonna end up having to do something like this, okay? Maybe Sheldon has a concern about police coverage. You know, there could be more than just one community in this district-wide policing. Now, the village, you know, probably isn't moving as fast in that direction as I feel they should, because it's gonna end up lowering the overall cost. It's never gonna be cheap now, but you know, it'll lower the cost because all the hard fixed costs would be spread over a larger grand list. You know, it will take some more officers, the design of this facility, and that's why, you know, I think it's important that we have this discussion because, you know, they could have offices there that, but somebody would be serving in Highgate or somebody could be serving in Sheldon, but they'd be, you know, today with the vehicles they have for policing, I mean, they got the computers and everything in there. They don't have to be in the office. They could be out in them communities and just go in there in the morning or when they get done at night or whatever. Plus, there'd be a better chance that in an emergency situation, because of the situation with the state police right now, there would be a lot faster response. You know, instead of an hour, it might be a half an hour, or 2 days, it might be, you know, in the afternoon, if it was something that wasn't a total emergency. So, I'm throwing that out for you, you know, for one of the things to think about. The governance of this body I would, if you were interested, if it's something you wanted to consider, I believe that the board, and I did mention this the other day, that at least the select board would want to have you part of this committee, as they're saying, you know, they got it defined as 3 from the village, 3 from the village, 3 from the town, and probably, I'm gonna say 3 for Highgate, and hope you end up with 2. But I think it should be equal, because we're really not gonna run the department. We're just gonna be like an advisory committee. But I think it's important that it would be a good first step for something that would be more unified in the future, because the reality of this is, no town can afford to really do it on their own and do it right. And we all know there are issues out here, significant, serious issues. And the reason why some of those, especially with these drug issues, is because this is it's easy to do up here. There's, you know, I mean, you can get away with it. There's very little, there's not enough law enforcement to keep up with it, you know, to do, and so these people from down in Massachusetts, New York City, these ain't the big time guys, but these guys can come up here and make $5,000–6,000 on a weekend, no problem. They don't have very little to worry about. And this is why right now with the present leadership in that police department in Swan, they've made some headway this way. You know, because they've been putting a serious effort into it. And so that's what I really got to say, you know.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say thank you for coming and speaking to us, because it's nice to be able to see maybe if we could work together towards a common goal. I really appreciate you coming forward and speaking with us. I would be interested too, as this moves forward from the Swanton level, just to kind of let us know what the direction things are going, just so that we can talk more about it maybe, and we can get, at least be up to speed on kind of what you guys are going, and maybe what you need from us to make things work. So I can speak for myself and say thank you.
Now, I want to make this clear. Now, this is for 2025, and I know you're going to have an issue coming this year too, because your contract ends in the end of June. And I don't know if, and have you talked with the village about possibly getting a contract for 2024?
Till I'm blue in the face.
What?
Till I'm blue in the face.
They're not in a position to do it right now.
Yeah, and they're not willing to even entertain the idea.
Yeah.
My other concern would be, you know, they're already big thinking. Oh, we're gonna take care of Enosburg. Well, if they're up in Enosburg, how are they gonna respond to your farm?
Well,
You know,
yeah, you know, and it's the issue of where's the funding gonna come from and can it be affordable?
right.
I know that it may take probably a year, at least a year, for them to get fully staffed to cover more. So, you know, maybe that's what they should have been telling you. But right now, if it came down to do you think you'd be able to get some kind of reasonable coverage from the sheriff's department?
Who knows?
They've got a proposal in front of them right now.
Because maybe we could, I mean, we do have, they're proposing a 10-hour one this year. And maybe we could get an agreement where we, you know, I hate to say this because I haven't, it's not from the board, this is just a thought, this is something that we could discuss, that maybe some of this 10 hours could be split between Highgate and Swan.
I had a conversation with Bill today, because the county administrators met.
Yeah.
He's not interested in that.
No. Well, it's good, I mean, if the village is not gonna be flexible enough, then we're gonna, even the town's gonna have some problems.
Right.
That's where I was going, because
Yeah.
if they're not gonna be working and trying to work with us now on our short-term problem, what's it gonna be like for a long-term commitment?
All right, so that's a message I can bring back. Okay.
That's just my question.
Ty?
I think it's great that Earl's here, but I think it's a joint meeting that the village trustees, the select board from Highgate and the select board from Swan have to all be at the same table
Yeah.
to discuss this. You know, it's great Earl's here giving you some options, but sitting at the same table, face to face with some people, get some results done in one evening. And you have some public hearings up here in Highgate once you got some.
No question, no question.
Yeah, I mean, this is just to bring the idea, I mean, because this is a critical issue for all of us.
I agree with you on that, Earl.
You know, and there is an opportunity here, if it's done right, that we might have ourselves something that we don't have to worry about for But we've gotta get all the parties to at least agree on some basic concept here. And then, you know, the village, like I say, the village right now, I mean, they seem to be pretty much hell bent on going forward as proposed. But we're getting a lot of feedback,
I'm sure.
and
It's a lot of tax burden.
A lot of money.
Yep, it is.
I would be very hesitant to put a bond payment in front of Highgate taxpayers for a Swanton building, when we still have a bond payment on the arena that Swanton backed out of.
well, the way it's set up right now is that it would not be a bond payment. You wouldn't be voting on a bond payment, you'd be voting on
Right, we'd be
police
paying
coverage.
for,
But,
we'd
right,
be paying for
it's
it.
rolled into the operation costs, and I hear that from Swan residents too.
That puts a little sour taste in my mouth, and I would feel very uncomfortable putting that in front of the taxpayers.
And I heard this from people in Swan, okay, and I understand. And the only thing I can say to that is, that sometimes you have to kind of rise above the BS, because I don't really see the Swan Village continuing with that police department at the level it is now, unless they're gonna work with everybody else and make it fair. And I don't think, as I said before, I also represent the people in the village, and I don't believe the village residents can afford to do it on their own.
No.
And if some realization is gonna come, it may take a negative vote, for it to happen. But I'm hopeful that we can keep working and, you know, try to get somewhere, without having to go get to that point. But if we bring something before the voters, we're bringing something that's acceptable, and I'm saying affordable, but I'm not gonna try to make it sugarcoat it, because it's gonna cost more than what you've been spending, it's gonna cost more than what we've been spending, but I believe it can be a lot more affordable. You know, I see that as being a possibility. So, I can take back your message, you know, and what you have said, to the village.
Well, and the other thing is, do you need a huge new building, you know?
Well, that's-
Maybe it doesn't need to be a $20 million building.
No.
Maybe it needs to be a 10 million or a 5 million.
Yeah, and I did neglect to say that, but I want to make it clear that what the police department facility that's there now is woefully inadequate. That has to be addressed if they're gonna properly cover more
No
area.
question.
That is a legitimate need. Now, you know, whether it needs, like you said, Jerry, I think there are some options there that could, you know, lower that cost considerably and make it more feasible. They're looking, the other thing too that you would have to keep in mind if we were gonna do something like this would be a long-term venture. St. Albans Town, and I did want to talk with Jack Brigham today, but I didn't have time. They have at least, from what I understand, and you may know more of that, a 10-year contract. And I don't know if that's changed or not, that's the last I had heard.
Yeah, no, I believe that's true.
Yeah. And I believe that the village has told us that it's somewhere around a 10-year contract, and, but that's not going to even be the life of the bond that they're proposing now, so, you know, I'm not sure they've thought all the implications through completely. Because if you left at the end of 10 years, they're stuck with the bond.
Yeah, and I guess I'm a little concerned too, they've already picked out their contractor for a building that they didn't even know if Swanton was gonna go in with them.
That's,
A little cart before the horse there.
you know, that's been brought up.
Yeah, it just,
You know, and I don't see the reason in it either, is why they would bring this before the village voters at town meeting time, the same time they want the town to bring the issue before.
yeah.
If I was in the village, I'd be leery of voting for it without knowing if there was gonna be any partners involved to help, you know, foot the cost.
Yeah, 'cause it's my understanding that if the village passes that bond without Swanton or any other, it's $1,700 for about a $250,000 house. Additional for just that. Apparently people in Swan Village are a lot richer than I thought.
Well, they're not here,
Well,
okay?
that's the thing, I mean, holy cow. Just,
You know, I believe we got a long ways to go on this, but the only really alternative I can see that's gonna give us secure, you know, give us, something secure in the future is working together.
yeah, I think you're 100% right there. I think policing's going to have to be regionalized.
Yeah,
And somehow, we've all got to figure out a way to work together.
yes. And I believe if we can figure out how to do that, I think we could make a real strong case to our legislators that you need to help support us. It's because you can't get enough state police officers anyway, so give that money to the towns that are doing the job to make it more affordable for their taxpayers.
Yes.
I don't know how that would go there.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere. So, you got any more questions? We'll keep you, go ahead.
Yeah, just the joint, looking at the joint police board governance structure, do you have any other examples other than St. Albans right now that's been done in the state?
Not that I'm aware of, not
Okay.
that I'm aware of.
I see, I'm looking at Wikipedia right now, Rutland, I guess, has got 2 police departments, I didn't know that. One is city, one is town, so I'm thinking maybe,
Essex, I think, might be the same way.
City and town.
so I'm just thinking, because I'm a big research guy, that, you
Yeah.
know, if we call these towns up instead of us reinventing the wheel, how'd you guys do it?
The only thing that I ever really saw, I was reading somewhere where one of these things fell apart and it had something to do with maybe hardware and another, I don't know if you ever came across, I see I was reading it somewhere, that they didn't, you know, that it was going good and I guess during COVID for some reason or other, it got disbanded.
Yeah, I know our attorney had talked about, department that it kinda imploded.
Yeah. I mean, it might be one of the first really being proposed, but I think in Rutland, you know, you got you got a big city,
Yeah.
you got a big town, so, you know, I'm sure they probably kind of have enough grand list value to make something like that affordable. We're not quite in that same situation. Same thing in Essex, you know, it's a lot more commercialized.
Looks like Barry did it, Newport did it, and Manchester did it. So, got a homework assignment for you, Sharon.
Yeah.
Solve the police problem.
Yep, solve it, solve it.
Carry it on.
Yeah,
Apparently
cool.
got spent, you got extra time.
Well, you know, I can fit things in when I have to now. I don't have to milk cows every day. I milk once in a while, helping somebody, but I don't have any of my own, so I'm a little more flexible than I used to be.
There you go.
But to me and to the Swanton Select Board, we're very concerned, and this is a big issue that we want to get resolved because, you know, we've heard in the past that people would like to see more police coverage. So we hate to lose what we got. Maybe we can give them more, but it's not at the price that's being proposed right now. It's not with everything else that's happening. Because we were looking at some numbers, if you had that education thing in, we're hitting a $2,000 increase in 1 year on an average home.
Mhm.
We gotta find a better way of doing it. We can't quit from trying to do that.
Of course.
And, you know, quite frankly, if we can't resolve this properly, you know, maybe the towns, maybe look at some alternative. That's mine. Well, I thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Earl.
Thank you, Earl.
for coming.
Thank you, Governor.
Lots
You
to
had
chew
to
on.
get it in, didn't you?
Casino.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, you know, anything else, I'll do it again. I'm not representing the village, I want you to understand, I'm representing the town. we have to work with the village. You represent the people that live in the village, not me, so,
Well, I'm sure that all of your taxpayers appreciate it.
well, we'll find out.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Okay, moving right along, MVR update.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
So far to date, we've responded to 1,000.
Josh, hey, can I get you to move over here so
You got it.
see you a little bit better? Thank you.
You're welcome. So far today, we've responded to 1,617 calls for the year. In Highgate, so far 324. And also out of that 1,600, we responded so far to 145 mutual aid calls. Again, our mutual aid numbers are up significantly from previous years. Our biggest change that I'm kind of glad we're having this meeting to let you guys know is our board of directors have voted to go back to St. Albans Dispatch. That's effective January 1st. So obviously that doesn't affect our contract because we're locked into a contract with you guys for June 30th, 25. But since you guys pay dispatching fees, there is going to be an increase there. You guys will be billed directly from St. Albans. The 18-month contract with St. Albans for Highgate is $35,836. That's over the course of 18 months. So, and they will bill that out in invoices directly to you guys.
Josh, what's a 12-month cost? Did they break it down?
They didn't. They put it together as a 18-month.
Why the change?
So we periodically check in with St. Albans just to kind of make sure, see check on pricing and stuff. And they have actually come down from where they were in 2020 by like $30,000 for both towns. And so kind of it's more expensive, but the benefit of being under one roof is kind of starting to outweigh the money savings that was there previously. It's a lot easier when it comes to mutual aid to just kind of be under the same roof, and or if we're hollering for the fire department or they're hollering for us, there's much less of a delay there. And also being through St. Albans too, you can do a radio to radio link instead of being at the whim of Comcast and going through the IP link, which we have now for military. Last December when we had that big windstorm that took out the internet, we were able to do everything by cell phone, but it's still kind of there wasn't enough redundancy in that system. So.
How is your health situation?
It's overall we're doing okay. We could use some more staffing. There is some days we don't quite have our second truck on the road, but we do have one truck 24/7. And yeah, overall we're doing pretty good. We have 2 full-time medics, 1 part-time medic, a bunch of AEMTs, and then several of the lower level EMTs and EMRs. But overall we're covering most of our call line pretty well.
I see there's a lot of mutual aid.
Yes.
And I see you're going into St. Albans a lot.
Yes.
And I'm also hearing that you're into St. Albans, and there was a couple times
Yes.
you couldn't get to Highgate.
Unfortunately, yeah, that mutual aid kind of situation, it is having an impact on EMS in the entire county.
Yeah.
Where a lot of us are responding mutual aid, and then we can't cover our area, so we have to call somebody else in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. There's been a big increase in that in the last year and a half or so, 2 years.
Now, are you seeing a big uptick in Albert responding?
We were up until, I think it was like July or August 1st of this year, Alberg actually went to a fully paid department. So since they've done that, our Alberg mutual aid responses have dropped right off. They're covering their calls pretty well. I mean, we still go over there once in a while, but not as frequent as it was.
And rumor has it, you look in the building.
Yeah, so we are, yes, that's true. So we haven't purchased anything yet. We're under contract for a piece of land across from the new public safety building. We were not included in that project. And we didn't realize that until quite late in the game. I mean, we don't even have all of our trucks in one station. We don't even have a supply room. We have a Rubbermaid shed in our bay that holds our supplies. We have one small office, very small sleeping quarters. And kind of the plan for the future, if we ever do push for 2 crews 24/7, I mean, we need room for them to stay and sleep, and we just don't have that now. We've long outgrown that building, and we thought we were gonna be able to work a deal with the village, but that didn't.
So the $19 million bill didn't include EMS?
That is not included. We even asked if we can, we even asked if we partially fund to add one bay onto our station. That would be 800,000 to $1 million, and we offered if we paid for part of that out of savings, and the trustees, according to bill sheets, said no.
What was their,
And to be added on to that new building over where it's proposed is 2.5 million, and they said no to that as well, so.
Well, let's put it over 20, so that's.
Yeah, I know, right?
I used MVR in April and had a great experience with your staff.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Sorry to circle back to dispatch, but that's a huge increase for us.
I know.
Will I be contacted by St. Albans directly? 'Cause
Yes.
this is the first that we're hearing of it, and
Yeah, this is like fairly new, we actually just signed this today.
Okay,
Uh,
like, we spent 7,500 last year.
Yeah.
Now we wanna go up to 35,000.
plus for 18 months. I know, it's still substantial, I know, I understand.
Substantially higher.
Yes.
that's quite a bit, yeah.
Okay. I'll get on that.
Yeah, I know the St. Albans pay schedule is a little different because Middlebury did per call. St. Albans does it like per capita type thing.
Per capita.
Yeah.
Well, and they're already charging us over 10,000. It's 12,000 this year for fire department side.
Yeah. They explained how they had to like break it down as like 75, 25, but supposedly they broke it down even more for us. Yeah. And because, now previously, like when Amcare had the contract, I thought the billing was different. They're saying now because we're a private entity, that they have to contract directly with us. Like, they have a contract with us. You're obviously they're still gonna send you the bill, but apparently they have to have a contract with us. And I don't believe that was the way it was before. I always thought it was through the counties, but I can have somebody from St. Albans reach out to you.
We do sign a dispatch contract for the fire
Fire,
side.
yeah.
I don't believe we ever have
For EMS.
for the EMS.
Okay.
I don't know why the discussion would have happened before you guys signed it to a customer.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I said I don't know why the discussion to make a change wouldn't have happened prior to signing the contract, having the discussion with a customer
Yeah.
of yours before you decided
Correct, absolutely.
to
And
make the change.
I don't disagree with you there.
Which is not, I'm preaching to the wrong person, but you're who's in front of me.
What? Oh, yeah. No, I don't disagree with you there. When we do our budget meetings, I think it needs to be a little bit, I think when there is large changes like that, that it should be brought to the town, even though, again, it's not under our contract, but it, for ambulance service, because you guys pay dispatching separately, but it still has an effect on you.
Yeah, we don't have a choice.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
So, how many more years are we contracted with MVR?
I believe June 30th, 2025.
Yeah, so the budget cycle that we are working on right now would be the last one with MVR.
Okay.
And then it would need to go back out to bid.
I do feel very strongly that was not handled very well. To go from $7,500 a year to $35,000 for 18 months, for a year and a half, that's a huge hit.
Sure.
With no words even mentioned. I'm a very big supporter of MVR. But that doesn't set well with me at all. I don't like that at all. I don't remember.
Anybody have anything for Josh or?
I do not. I do not.
Be very appreciative if you pass that along to the people that make decisions.
I sure will.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Josh.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
80% increase. Without discussion.
Okay.
You can pass by Ellen Fox, she did not appear, so.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the cannabis retail business. Brent Reeder?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah.
So, as you all know, I came in several weeks ago and presented about the opportunity to discuss having a dispensary with the town. And I won't go over everything I presented with you because it's obviously redundant. But I was wondering if there was anything follow-up wise that the select board would want to know or would want to ask in order to have everybody feel like it was something that they could bring up to have the town vote on.
I personally wasn't present for your presentation, but I have read everything, so
Yes.
I'm all set with, I don't need more information myself.
I was not familiar with a lot of the cannabis policies and stuff with towns. You're the first guy to come in and do this, so I did my homework, 'cause that's what I do.
Yes, sir.
I went to a local pot shop,
Yeah,
sat with the owner for an hour,
yeah,
asked him all the questions I thought were pertinent.
yeah.
Learned a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Learned a lot of surprise. One thing I was really surprised about, the security that the shops have to go through every night
Yes.
to put away the product.
Yeah.
The systems they gotta put in per the state, that's linked to your phone, that's linked to the state, and it's like Fort Knox.
Yeah.
It's better than a bank, it's better than a school.
Oh, absolutely. And
It's
it
incredible,
has,
actually.
well, one of the things about the security, so for those of you that don't know, is it has to be recorded and stored for 30 days. You have to have cameras at the point of entrance and egress. You have to have cameras where it's stored. You have to have cameras at the purchase points in any place where there's cannabis products that can get full facial for people. And you have to have a system that, if it's a proximity system, and even one of those systems where if somebody like moves on the door, you know, they have those systems where people like step on your floor and it tells you, you have to have a system that will alert, and it has to be connected to an agency that can respond, and it has to be checked every day. You have to send, whatever company you choose, you have to send a test call to them to make sure that it's functioning. So the security is huge.
It's impressive.
I always talk to my parents whenever I want advice, and I said, you know, what's one of the things that I can bring up that, you know, you think people may have concerns about? And they said, I think the biggest thing would be people worried about a concern, an increase in criminal activity or driving under the influence. Also a big research guy. I love research, it's my jam. So I went in and I checked it out. Fun fact, for 2022, the number of arrests for marijuana for underage consumption, public intoxication, public consumption, driving under the influence, possessing too high of a quantity, the total number for 2022 was 36. I thought you'd find it interesting to know the comparison to alcohol, which is available in several stores in the town. The same number of driving under the influences and possession underage, overconsumption, public intoxication for alcohol for the state of Vermont in the same year was 2,711, and that's arrests. So last year they arrested 36 people for marijuana and 2,711 for alcohol. So far as that concern goes, I told my parents, I said, I'm pretty sure that numbers wise, it's pretty indicative that it's not as large a problem as alcohol. The only concern that I would have, I know you had mentioned last time that it has to be a complete buy-in for the state for municipalities to charge their own tax.
Correct.
So Highgate could not charge its own tax.
We can't charge just your store. We have to do like a 1% local, what's it called, local options tax on everybody.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, you'd be targeted. And we
Okay.
can't do that. I know you want to give us money, but
I do want to.
I know.
I was sitting there and he's like,
But then everybody
and I
has
was
to give
like,
us money.
oh man, revenue.
Yeah.
And then the other guy was like, I was like, revenue? Oh, we'll pay for it. But no, but seriously, just for you to hear it, because I think sometimes people can read things, but there's a difference between reading things and hearing things auditorially and the way we process. So I'll say it one more time, just because I think it bears repeating. The estimated on the generous end of revenue for the state of Vermont for 2025, the estimated revenue for the cannabis industry would be 265 million on the generous end, 220 on the conservative end. And as I mentioned last time, there's a 20% tax. 14% of that is excise tax, and of that 14%, 30% goes to substance abuse, mental health services, and addiction, and 70% goes to the Cannabis Regulation Board, the State of Vermont General Fund, and social equity. Of the 6% sales and use tax of that 20%, which equates for 30% of the revenue, goes directly to after-school programs for Vermont schools kids. On a $265 million revenue for the state, that'd be $79.2 million. And on the 220 end, it'd be about $66 million, which is huge. It really is huge. And I think one of the things that people don't do is they don't project sometimes when they're thinking things like well into the future, because the way it looks now in the first year that it's been legalized for retail in Vermont, and how it'll look in 10 and how it'll look in 20 and what the laws will look like statewide and federally, that's huge. It's gonna be a big difference, because I can tell you, as they legalize states one by one, I can see in the future when it's federally legal, that it wouldn't have to be recreational versus medical dispensary. They would be able to charge insurance for it. That'd be reimbursed. And I know this from a medical social work standpoint and things obviously outside of cannabis, but and the other thing is that they're always coming up with new ways and thinking of ways to help Vermont and make this lucrative for the state. One of the ways, well, two of the ways actually, the Vermont Growers Association got together and put down a step of 10 guidelines that I can set to you that are about social equity and the ways that the revenue is going to be sent to the state, the way they're going to use general funds, and the way they're going to try and look at future programming, like in addition to, we're helping children with after school programs. What can we do in addition? How can we, help use this money that's being generated to improve everything? The second example is that just recently they've updated the type of cultivator licenses they can do, because the concern was that some people were having to invest so much money in their operation that they weren't going to be able to make ends meet. And the state of Vermont actually is really against large scale. They don't want corporate growing. They actually incentivize smaller growers that grow smaller quantities, and they do so. They incentivize them by providing grant money and access to grant money, and they also created a new type of cultivator license that's called a propagation license. And what people do, because they've seen that cultivators, have to take X amount of time in order to, for their plant to get this large. Well, they've started propagation licenses where you can go and people can sell clones that they've already cloned and sell those to the dispensary, so they're already ahead and can increase their cycle. But Vermont actually has a fiscal board within the Cannabis Regulation Board that is looking at the aggregate supply and demand and how to ensure that it never gets to the point other than plateauing. On the decrease end, so that it's continually lucrative for bringing revenue into towns, for bringing it into the state, and for keeping people that have the dispensary businesses and the cultivator businesses going. So So those are all points. The other point that I was gonna bring up, and I'm just gonna say it, because if I don't say it, I won't say it, but I know that everybody was talking about bringing it up during town meeting. I get it. I get that that's huge. But just since the last time I've talked to you, they've opened up 6 more dispensaries. So
that's something I do a little more research on. There's oversaturation. Looks like it might be a problem with marijuana shops.
right,
The amount of licenses that are being held up right now by the state, 400,
Yes.
I think.
yeah.
What, as a proposed business owner, what are your thoughts about being oversat? What if you open one up here, 2 in Swanton, 1 in Franklin? How do you make a living? How do you?
Right.
Because they don't seem to be limiting the licenses, I noticed.
Right. Well, so that is particularly because if you look into the National Institute of Health, and you also, so NIH, they, and SAMHSA, which is Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Association, they say that Vermont has the highest cannabis consumption rate of adults 21 and older, and the second highest rate of children smoking cannabis, which I think is, it's sad, because from a social work perspective it stunts mental health development. But I'm not so concerned about the oversaturation at this point anyway, because one of the neat things about the Cannabis Control Board is that it's so intensely regulated that they can look and they can say, oh, you know, Vern came into the store on such and such a date. He either did or did not purchase this, and they can tell you. They can say, you know, of this number of people census-wise living in Franklin County, this number of them purchased. Well, 17% of Vermonters have purchased products from a dispensary, even if it was a hat. So we have, as of 2021, we had 645,570 people in our state. 17% of that is 109,000. 109,000 Vermonters in the past year have purchased marijuana since dispensaries have opened. Oversaturation is a problem, yes, but I think it comes down to the same thing as any business. If you walk into a business and it's corporatized and it's sterile and it's clearly aimed at being a business and being as lucrative as it can for the sake of the owners, then yeah, oversaturation is absolutely a problem. If I went to big city dispensary that had X number of people in and out all day, absolutely. But I wouldn't be worried about oversaturation necessarily in this area, even though there is that many dispensaries open. Because the thing is if people in Highgate wanted to attend a dispensary, or people in Swanton because they can't, or people in Franklin, and they could go to Sheldon, or they could go to St. Albans, or they could go to Cambridge, or wherever, and they knew that there was this dispensary that had people in it that were from the area, they didn't move here from, this is their town, and that they want to use revenue to help improve the lives of the people in the town, I think people would support that. I think people would support it in the same way they support small businesses.
You got your fax one. You got a photographic memory, I can tell.
Yes.
It's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
So I gotta read it like 3 times to remember
Yeah.
and spit it out. So one of the things you brought up was the 2 locations you were thinking about was Joey's Junction and the old Border Patrol building.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I learned from the gentleman I talked to, the owner, was the zoning. We haven't zoned anything, have we, about where to put cannabis shops?
We have not, the planning commission
Yep.
met about it
Okay, that's right.
at our last meeting,
Okay.
fellow medical social worker.
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
We met it at our last meeting. We agreed that it was to not make any changes to zoning. Whether or not we wanted cannabis retail in Highgate, we were pretty split. But we agreed that zoning changes were not appropriate at this time.
Okay. So one thing I learned was St. Albans, they kept it out of the core of the city. That's why all the shops are on the outskirts. And they also kept them away from schools.
Yes.
That'd be, well, like, what was it, 500 feet? I'm talking more than that, because I was just thinking Joey's Junction is kind of like the main intersection in town.
Yeah.
all the buses gotta go by there,
Yes.
and so I'm thinking,
Well, and I was actually thinking that too. I was actually
Yeah.
gonna bring that up.
But I can't make that decision, this is my personal thing, but when I learned about we can zone it, where they could be, I think we need to discuss that, but first we need to get it to a town vote to see whether or not they're gonna give it a thumbs up or thumbs down for you.
And how many signatures would you need to do that?
120,
Is it 120?
5%.
5%.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I think that's
Have a
where we're heading
petition signed,
with that.
Okay.
and that would be to allow the article to be on the ballot.
Yep.
But I was also going to, one of the things I was gonna ask is if it was something that the town was going to put to a vote, and then if the vote was successful and they wanted to move forward, I was actually wondering about suggestions. Because I thought about that, because I was thinking about the fact that, you know, it is very visible, but also they are so strictly regulated through the CCB that, for example, you cannot have anything that would encourage cannabis smoking or make it appealing to anyone under 21 years of age less than 15% of the time. If somebody could even arbitrarily say, well, I saw, you know, there's X number of kids in Highgate, and this one day I saw 100 go by, and that's more than 15%, then that's not okay. Unless there's just a green flag outside, if your building is overtly a dispensary, then anything over 15% of people under the age of 21 would not be able to view it in a day observably, according to the Cannabis Control Board. So a place, for example, like the airport would probably be a better decision. But I don't know much about the retail spaces or zoning in Highgate that would be available for that. I just know how far you have to be. I know what areas clearly would not be recommended to have children or anyone under 21 around. So those are all things that would have to be considered. I understand the town meeting is the earliest time. That everybody had suggested, they're going fast, you're not wrong. They are really, there's so many applications. I happen to have just a slight upper hand on that. Not that I'm trying to like say, well, see, we can wait till March, but I will say that I will be applying if I can under a social equity applicant. I'm both Native American and a veteran. Either can apply as a social equity applicant, and those applications are prioritized. And there are less social equity applications significantly than most of the others. So I mean, that would be kind of a leg up, but you're right, there are dozens, literally dozens and dozens and dozens waiting to have their towns voted, waiting to be approved and their towns voted, and now they just need their license to go through. The bright side of that is that I've done the research, so when I do get to go through, I think I have a pretty good flow plan, but it's one of those things where the town would really just need to say, we trust Brent to do this, or we don't, or we do trust Brent, but we don't want it. You know? So that's where I'm at. I didn't know if anyone had any remaining questions.
You got more
Yeah,
questions?
I'm good,
All set?
thank you, Brent.
I guess what we should do now is, would the select board put it on a ballot? Or would you, Brent, go and get
Petition signed.
signed and get your 120 signatures? I guess because we're gonna have to move on with this.
Yeah.
Either we do or we don't.
Yeah.
And I guess now's the time to ask the board, you know.
My thought is, I don't think the board should make a decision, I think the town should make a decision.
I agree. Yeah.
Which is a little more work for you, but I think it's more fair to the town.
Yeah. No, I wasn't trying to have the select board say, yes, it's okay. I mean, I was just trying to have, I know that somebody had mentioned a warning, was it last meeting, that you can do I don't know. That was just my thought, but I really want everyone to be comfortable with this. It's not a situation wherever I want somebody to feel bullied by me about it or anything like that. Like, I want everyone to be comfortable with it. I get it. It's like opening up anything else that has substances in it. It'd be like opening up a bar in town. You know, people would have their opinions. You'd want people to feel comfortable with it if you're the one trying to do it. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone had all their questions answered from me, or if there was anything else they needed me to consider or research, or any documents you wanted to pass along to think about it.
You only need to decide, are you going to put it on the warning, or are you going to have him petition?
Have him
to put it on the
petition.
warning?
That's what I would,
Have him.
Yeah.
So make a motion.
Okay, could I have a motion for Brent to put it on petition?
so moved.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion, second. All in favor? Signify by saying aye. All opposed? Nays have it? Nays have it. Ayes have it? 5-0. Sorry about that.
So Brent, we have to, the wording for the question to the voters.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's set in statute, but I don't know what that is. Are you familiar with it?
I'm not familiar with the exact terminology because I have not memorized that. But if you, yeah, I know. Well, there's so many documents though. There's so many
You're
documents.
so unprepared.
I know, Kyle. However, I can tell you where you can find that information.
Because I only ask because that needs to be clearly stated at the top of the
Yes.
petition so people know. And when they sign that petition, they're not saying, yes, I'm in favor of this, or no, I'm not. It's strictly for you to get it on the ballot
Right.
for people to vote.
Yeah.
So it needs to be worded on your petition the way it's gonna be worded on the ballot.
Sure. ccb.vermont.gov/guidance. That will have the document.
Okay.
Of course it will. I knew that.
Get it?
Don't you love that? Don't
It's
you love
impressive. I remember what I did yesterday.
So the deadline for those petitions is Thursday, January 18th by
Okay.
4 p.m.
Okay.
So if we get you what you need next week, you have a month plus. I'll be the
Okay.
first one to sign it for you.
All right. Thank you.
So connect with me next week
Okay.
and we'll get you going.
Sounds good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You
Yeah,
too.
You too.
Now watch that dome light.
Yes, sir. Fortunately, it hasn't been so long that I would have gotten out there and it wouldn't start,
True.
but who knows? Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Fire department.
We're here to ask for some money from the ARPA money.
Yeah, we're out.
Come on, it wasn't all of it.
Just gave it all to Swanton and
Yeah.
dispatching.
Yeah, really.
Surprise!
I knew you were gonna say it, Shelley. I knew it. I've been writing so much.
What you
That was
got?
crazy.
Just to replace the box on our utility truck,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
just because they are shot.
Got the aluminum ones that are all
Yes.
metal.
So I had sent emails
Yes.
with the quote, and a picture of the type of body they were looking for. If somebody didn't see that, I do have a copy here.
I saw it.
Didn't
I
see it.
saw it. I saw it.
They're
Yeah.
I think it's that right. That's the one.
Yeah.
So what it would do is it would actually extend the life of that small utility truck another 10
versus
years.
trying to replace the whole thing.
Right, well, that makes
Just
sense.
replace the boxes and then we can stretch the truck out further versus trying to ask more money for the utility truck. Because we're already asking more money for another truck as it is.
It's coming up.
Yeah. And the other thing they had asked for was the correct valving so that when the airport water and sewer goes in, that they'll be prepared.
And more LHD hose. So, how much was the box for, or how much were we gonna ask for?
I think Sharon added it up. Didn't you? Because that's the base and then we have the options that we gotta add on also.
Yeah, I'm thinking, you said 3,000, 4,000 for valves.
I've got that.
I didn't see that, and I didn't see your hose quote, so.
This sounds pretty cheap.
For the valves and the LDH is $52.60. I thought I had emailed that to you.
No, I didn't draw that.
So what, to clarify, I guess you guys haven't seen this, we have enough valves to dress a hydrant for one truck. We'd like to get the valves for the other pumper, so we have that on there. And then add some large diameter hose.
So roughly 32,000.
Yeah, roughly.
That's with the truck and the,
That's the
Oh,
body and the
yes.
hose and the
yeah,
valves.
that's everything.
Which this allows them to be better prepared, plans for the future, instead of delivery
If
of
not, we'll have
trucks.
to put it into the budget.
So valves are something you should have anyways, I mean, that's,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, we have,
and the LDH, I mean, that's just, you should have that.
yeah, we have 1,000 feet now on the engine too, but if we're adding hydrants in, we should have it on our first two as well.
How many feet LDH is that?
500.
But, yeah.
So you do have the ARPA funds available.
I make a motion.
Ty,
For Wendy's minutes, and for me that doesn't know what LDH.
Large diameter hose.
Large diameter hose, which
Thank you.
is 4 inch.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Was the big total given out yet?
32,000.
It's about 32,000.
I would propose a motion for the amount of 32,000 using ARPA funds.
We do have a second.
I'll second.
Vern. Any more discussion or?
Public safety issue and
Yep.
fiscally responsible. so
Absolutely, I
all
agree,
for it.
100%.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
By saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Sorry
No
to make
problem.
this-
Will you forward me those emails as well, so when the work is done, I'll know exactly what needs to be charged to ARPA and
Do
not
you
your
want
budget?
this copy for now and then I can email?
I'm not in a rush, you're not doing it tomorrow. So, yeah, everybody's getting a little
There was, for
feisty.
800
Well, we didn't have that
something, there was,
copy, like it, but-
she has it, because she has,
Nope, I just wanna make sure that I
Total
can
rate is what
sure
we
to
have.
work on my budget.
Yeah,
So
Once
Friday
the work,
morning,
yeah,
when the work
right.
comes in later,
Right.
it's in my folder.
she was thinking that towards the police
Oh, no.
contract.
Yep. Perfect.
And she thinks that we probably should try to keep that for a rainy day fund.
500.
So for making it so hard on you fellas,
Yeah,
thank you for what you do.
Thank you for what you do.
Yes.
thank you.
So, on to me, you said, Richard?
Yep.
Okay, so you have the check warrant in front of you. Hopefully everyone had a chance to view it. I sent it kind of late yesterday afternoon.
Yes.
Yep.
It's been a busy week.
Has everyone seen it?
I have.
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
I make the motion to accept the sign.
Can I have a second?
Second?
Have a second, by Kyle. All in favor of the check warrant, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, 5-0.
Okay, real quick, while you're signing that away, I've met with all the departments. We've buttoned up a first draft budget. I just want to get my notes all in a row and make everything crystal clear for you guys. So in the next few days, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, somewhere in there, I'll send you all an email so you can review before our next meeting. And you're not coming in blind to the budget meeting. I have some notes and the first draft right in front of you. The planning commission did the CIP. Robin's here, she'll go through that with me, coming up here shortly. So the CIP was done with planning commission last month. And I think, from what Sharon has heard at her meeting today, Highgate is doing a very good job at staying as low as we can with our taxes, so.
That's gonna change.
We're looking at maybe it's.
Not our fault.
No, it isn't, but it's,
Well, why she's saying that is because Swanton Town thought that their increase for taxes this year was going to be 15%. Swanton Village expected theirs to be 20%. And that's not including the policing.
Our first draft is looking at a 7.5% increase with everything. Although it might be a little higher now that we got that,
yeah.
closer to 8 with the dispatch. That was a stab to the heart.
That's not where I felt that.
We need to remember
Yeah.
that.
Exactly.
So, yeah. The first draft is looking at about 7.5%. And 4% of that would be salary, really, payroll
Right.
increases and all the insurance that goes with it, so.
Which means 3.5% increase, considering the current market of everything,
Yes.
is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, that's extremely conservative.
Yeah, for sure. So we're chugging along and making things work best we can without raising it too much. On that note, taxes. Delinquent taxes are at $216,951.90. I am, once we get through the holiday season, I will be with the attorney office and starting the tax sale process for all of the people that still have not come forward for the 2022 taxes, which it's a very small list. And usually that's the fire they need to, either the bank to pay if they're escrowed, or mortgage, the bank will cover, or at least come forward and get an attorney in place. So if you have not done that yet, please call me. I would hate to see your house go up for tax sale if it does not need to. Just a phone call away. Other than that, I don't have much for you unless you have something for me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on
I
to
think, Rich, can I just say, were you guys on the agenda or?
Robin's part of the planning commission. So
Okay.
Yes, and we skipped over the constable discussion and the sheriff's department proposal, which I was just gonna pick up after Wendy.
Okay,
Yeah.
just to make sure they're not sitting here all night.
Thank you.
All right,
Even if we didn't.
okay, all right. It's just so interesting, isn't it?
We are. We're invested.
Okay.
Super fun.
Sorry, Richard, go ahead.
Okay, Wendy, all yours.
What did we skip over? I'm looking at the agenda.
Yeah.
Well, it was part of the
Swan
policing.
Town Village discussion,
Oh,
that's where we were going to talk about the
okay. So it's not
sheriff's
written there.
department.
I'm like, what is
Yes,
this?
yeah, no, I had it written on my notes and Richard's
Yeah.
notes and.
All right.
Yeah, my fault, I skipped over it.
That's
Right, okay, so you have minutes from whenever we were together last, November 16.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second it.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Say aye. Aye.
Thank you. Let's see, just some events around town. We have, Highgate Library and Community Center, Santa's Village, Saturday, December 16th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the library. The following day, I made a joke and said, Christmas throws up in Highgate that weekend. Skate with Santa on December 17th at the arena, as part of Public Skate, I believe, 2:15.
Yes, it is, yes.
So there is a charge for that, I don't really remember what it is, $4, something like that. And the light parade is that night, December 17th at 5:30, beginning at the school. Reach out to Jess at the arena to enter your vehicles. And the route has been published all over the place. It's very similar to last year, so it's not covering the entire town. There are points in town you can go here, the park and ride, the Highgate Falls Park.
Catholic Church.
Yep, if it's not going by your home.
It will not be going by McEwen's on 78 this year,
Will not
or the Methodist Church.
It's coming down Lampkin Street
Right.
instead.
East,
Yep.
west on Lampkin Street.
Yeah, last year we went that way out, right?
Yep. I
Came
think they
back.
went up Lampkin.
Yeah, and they came back that way, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's one more rec thing. We just confirmed today with Jess and the Ploufs that we will have the lighted bus on the 20th. We'll pick up folks and we will ride around and look at decorated homes in town.
Is that what we saw on 105 the other day?
It very-
The school
yes.
bus?
Yep,
It's blue.
That was cool.
yes. So they do a hell of a job, yeah.
A lot of fun.
So,
Can anybody get on the bus? How does that work?
Jess is gonna take names,
Okay.
so you can sign up, so we have an idea of how many times the bus has to go around. Curtis has agreed to go around basically as much as we
I
want,
won't be available.
so,
What day is that?
people, please show your spirit and get your homes decorated and
It's Wednesday.
sign up so we can visit it.
Or hockey night.
No, there is no home game that night
Thank you.
on the 20th. So,
You knew I was gonna say that, didn't you, Wendy?
Okay, that's good. So she'll probably share information
Yes.
on that, and I'll share it as well. Okay. The only other thing I have is we already touched on it. I'm gonna be spending a lot of the month of December getting stuff ready for town meeting. Warrant article petitions due January 18th by 4 p.m. with 120 minimum registered voter signatures. To run on the ballot. Consent of candidate forms and petitions, you only need 1% of the voter checklist, which is 25 people. I need those by January 29th by 5 p.m. And I did put together a quick list today of what's gonna be on the ballot this year. I did put a copy on the table there. We will have 11 elected positions on the ballot this year, which is higher than normal. Moderator for the ensuing year, which is currently Phil Ledoux. Library trustees, there is a 1 year remaining on a 5-year term, which is currently Amy Rainville, and a 5-year term, which is currently Chelsea Pigeon. Cemetery commissioner, there is a 5-year term, which is currently Keith Plouffe. 3 lister positions, we have 1 year that will be remaining on a 3-year term, which is the position that Amy is going to be leaving. 2 years remaining on a 3-year term, which that position has been vacant for years. And a 3-year term, which is the seat that Pete currently has. Select board, 4 of the 5 of you are up. We have Mary's current seat, which is 1 year, will be remaining on a 2-year term. Kyle's seat, which is 1 year remaining on a 3-year term. Scott's seat is 2 years remaining on a 3-year term, and Burns is a 3-year term. So the only one that's not, the seat isn't up is Richard. So I typically always just send petitions and consent forms to everyone for the seat they currently sit in. You decide whether you want to run. If you're doing something different, you're not interested in your current seat, you want to run for something else, let me know. It was confusing this year because we had so many people leave, step away, you're filling terms to the next town meeting, so we have 4 of the 5 seats on the ballot this year, which is rare. So, I will be putting paperwork together in the next couple of weeks because those will be due back to me by the end of January. I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to Sharon.
okay, so let's start by circling back a little. So you do have a copy of the Sheriff's Department proposal that we did receive. They are proposing a 40-hour week coverage. And at that coverage, they're talking about $189,000. We currently budget 115. Shelley and I had talked about it a little bit. You could, if you wanted to go that way,
Lose something?
you could put $50,000 of your ARPA money against that contract to lessen the financial hardship and try out 40 hours, which is basically at least 4 times what you're getting now.
How much more?
4 times. Do we have any idea what's going on with what's happened with the sheriff this week?
Right.
And
I left a couple of articles on the table. One was about how the dispatching service was out of date and in trouble, and one was about the chief out there who has lost his certification to be a police officer. Yeah. He is still able to do administrative at this point, but he is still facing several charges.
and he still isn't facing, he's facing impeachment as well.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, on Monday.
Somebody had a bad week. That's why it's hard to make a decision on anything with that without knowing.
That's how I feel.
Boy.
And you don't have to make a decision on that right now. It's just
Yeah.
giving you that information and seeing. I doubt you'll be able to delay it enough to see the end of it. I think you'll find that this probably gets stretched out another year.
Well, it sounds like they were supposed to meet, the government part was supposed to meet this week.
Yeah, I heard Monday they were gonna have a decision.
So if he goes through impeachment, it really doesn't matter about the rest of it, right?
Well, no, I would assume that they have a department, and I would assume that they still have some kind of chain of command.
Right, of course.
Right.
The department's not disappearing.
And
Right.
even as an administrative sheriff, I wouldn't suspect that the top dog of the department is out patrolling much anyway. Probably doing more administrative work on a daily.
Probably exactly what he's doing anyways. like you said.
Right, right.
And having said all that, Matt, the gentleman here that was just hanging out,
Concerned citizen.
had sent a letter that I had forwarded to you, concerning his interest in becoming a full-time trained constable.
For a seemingly budget price compared to
We didn't put that
Swan.
on.
Yeah.
So right now, you don't have a budget for a constable.
It used to be $1,000 stipend.
Yeah.
Which is practically nothing.
Right, because they couldn't do much.
They couldn't, right, they had no,
They might be there to help Wendy and I keep crowd control at the polls. Make sure people don't get crazy.
There is a path to become a fully certified law enforcement officer as a constable, whether or not the police departments or the state police will go for that. I haven't heard back yet. I emailed Kenneth Higgins, so I'm waiting to hear back from him on a path to it. The level 1 and 2 certifications seem pretty easy to get. It's the level 3 that I think is going to be the hardest part. But that would put me at the service of the town 24/7, 365, except for some vacation time that I would try to work out with the neighboring towns for coverage. That would alleviate the burden of trying to negotiate police contracts with the other towns.
present at all town events. To be, if we were to budget it in there, it would be my primary, it would be my job. If you guys would be up for it.
So what are you thinking about for numbers?
Well, looking at what you're paying, during the probationary period, I'd like to see 60 until I do all my ride-alongs, my 12-month probation with a full law enforcement officer. After that, because I'm offering 24/7 service, I'm rolling my own liability. I'm providing my own liability coverage so the town will not be liable. I'd like to see 100. Basically, I would be acting as a private police force for the town under my own LLC, which is what some other cities do. They've hired out, contracted to private non-government entity police forces.
Contract, please.
Effectively.
If the town did not want to assume there's the liability.
Yeah,
Can we do that?
did a little bit of homework on this too. I'm not sure that the town can let you have your own liability
Yeah,
insurance
that's what I
without
thought,
us
I was thinking.
insuring you. Even if you have your own liability insurance, you're covered, we're not covered.
Yeah.
If something bad goes down. That's one issue that, the other thing, you were talking state police as a sponsor. Do you have a sponsor yet?
Not yet. I'm still waiting to hear back from Kenneth Higgins
Okay.
about even getting into a level 3 course. There may be some consternation with the police departments about training an officer who's not
Gonna be part of them,
going to be part of them.
Yeah.
right?
That was the hang up with our last,
So,
yeah.
But the other thing, like, from a social welfare perspective, crime is not 10 hours a week or 10 hours a day. And so it's unreasonable to think that the needs of the town can be met when we have an officer from 8 to 5 or from 5 to 5, right? Like, there's no telling when the issue is gonna arise. And you need to be available at 3 in the morning. And if we're paying someone during daylight hours, some evening hours, when the crime isn't happening and it's still taking an hour for state police to arrive, you know, when something happens in the middle of the night, like, what is the point of paying St. Albans or Swanton when they're not here when we actually need them to be? In addition to serving the town staff and helping them go on those home visits and making sure that they're safe at work and they can still do their job.
I put it in my letter to you guys, but we're seeing an uptick in crime everywhere, from Burlington to St. Albans and Swanton. I don't know that that's gonna get any better. It's not trending that way. And those police departments are gonna be even harder strapped to provide coverage, so.
Did read your resume. Trying to figure out how you what makes you want to do this for the leap from your old job to this job? There's not a lot of nexus there.
How do you mean?
Nuclear sub, right?
Nuclear sub, but we did provide our own security forces, and
Right.
we would augment the Marines. So we would train with the Marines for augmented security. We stood security watches. It's more than just being on the submarine, especially when we were on the ballistic missile submarines and we were in foreign ports. Even in Seattle, Washington, we would have people routinely trying to get on base and protest. We had to provide security for that. So while there isn't a huge overlap, there was training in conflict de-escalation. There was training, significant weapons training, significant security force training and augmentation. Now, you're asking me what makes me want to make that leap. I have a very good job. I find it extremely unsatisfying. It's a great job. Mentally, it keeps me engaged, but I don't find it satisfying in any sort of way. My service in the military, I found very satisfying for a multitude of reasons. But after 21 years, it was time to go. I like the town of Highgate. This is probably where we're gonna live for the rest of our lives. And I would like to see it be a good place to raise my children. And there are a lot of easy ways to do that. The number one way to prevent influx of crime is to prevent blight. Making, you know, it look like people care about the town. And, you know, I think that's something that can easily be done if you have somebody in the town who cares about it, who lives here, who's invested. And I think that will provide a better result than, you know, a police officer who's already overbooked. Just my take.
Okay.
Matt, do you have any examples of other towns in Vermont that have gone with the private police service?
Not in Vermont.
Not in Vermont.
Not in Vermont. It's usually bigger cities that have much more crime.
Okay.
But I will talk with the League of Constables. There's like a Constables League, and see, you know, what their take on things is as well.
There's a suburb in Atlanta that just started doing that.
Yeah.
Yep, because they weren't satisfied with their local police, so they a lot of money in the suburb, so they just bought a contract or private police, contract police, I don't know what you call it, but
basically.
Yeah, kind of like what's that, the old military contract, a black,
yeah, not Black Rock.
not Black Rock, kind of like that. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about.
Mercs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mercs, yeah. Okay, that's all I got. What do you got here?
There's a lot to think about.
Yep.
I think the thing that really irritated me was when the I think it was the fire chief said that the St. Albans officers didn't show up to walk to school day. Like,
Well, that was Liza.
yeah, like that's where you want to see your police presence, right? Like they're peace officers, they're members of the community, and they're just not invested in this town. And you know, we're here, like we care. Like I jumped into meetings because that's how we meet people, and like this, you know, if we're gonna be here, we want to see the town continue to thrive. You know, not get a Dollar General, but be successful and have people feel safe. And you know, that who's gonna care about that more than someone who lives here?
Understand that.
So let me throw this out there. Robin, you volunteered your husband for lister duty.
I did, yeah.
So, did you tell him?
Did I take? Yeah, he thinks it would be a great addition to his constable duties.
What's that?
The lister.
Oh, the lister, yeah.
Yeah. I thought we could like do it together. We could be like a husband and wife team.
So I don't know if that's an honest or, you know, is that something you are actually interested in?
I am interested in helping the town however I can help. If that is just being a lister, that's fine. If that's being a level 1 constable and just escorting people to home visits and taking $1,000 stipend a month, that's fine too. You know, I like this town. We're gonna raise our children here. And I wanna see it preserved, you know? And made better.
We're trying.
What's that?
We're trying.
It's hard.
It is hard. Speed of government.
Yeah.
But I thank you for stepping up and trying to
Yeah.
be part of what's going
thanks
on.
for all the volunteering.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I work from home. Like, how else do I meet people? Not at the town meeting.
Yeah, I heard.
Definitely something we need to discuss.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, so we'll change gears a little and we'll let Robin tell you about the CIP that I proposed. So you have copies.
It's
in
just
front of
really
you.
goofy.
It's really cool. Okay. Oh, it really is. Okay. So planning commission met with the various departments, who shared their wish list. Joyce, just go along there. Okay.
Go for it.
So for the municipal complex, the town office parking lot, we have budgeted 0. For Parks and Rec, Zamboni, $10,000 for the next fiscal year. Nothing for the indoor turf. $10,000 for the arena parking lot. $25,000 for the arena roof. $5,000 for the 72-inch zero-turn mower. $10,000 for the dehumidifier. And $30,000 for the chiller compressor for a total of $90,000. For the library relocation, $50,000 allocation. For the fire department, towards the replacement of fire engine 1, $15,000. Fire engine 2, $30,000. Tanker, $75,000. And the utility truck, $10,000 for a total of $130,000. For public works, towards the replacement of the Caterpillar, $10,000. John Deere loader, $10,000. John Deere backhoe, $10,000. Western Star tandem truck, $50,000. The compact dump truck, $20,000. Single axle truck, $60,000. Tandem truck, $30,000. And disc mower, $15,000 for a total of $205,000. Town capital projects, the class 3 road improvements, $50,000. Transfer station slope stabilization, $25,000. Mashi, did I say that right?
Meisha.
It's different every time.
Wendy,
It's different
which
every
is it,
time.
Wendy?
Maisie.
It's Meishi.
Meishi?
I'm half
Not
Meishi.
Meisha.
That's how you say it.
Maishi?
Meisha.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Today it's Maishi. Maishi road slide, $5,000. Village Core master plan, $30,000 for a total of $110,000. Total department projects, $475,000 plus town projects, $110,000 for a grand total of $585,000. The end.
Which is significantly higher than last year, correct?
A little bit. Yep. Class 3 road improvements was a new addition. Planning commission members felt it is cheaper to pave than to throw away stones, so they would like to see money put aside to improve the dirt roads, maybe to pavement, which would save on both the highway and maybe some of the equipment too, the grader. But that is the beginning of saving towards improving the class 3 roads.
So,
So my thought about that, after thinking about it, was I guess I'd like to pick a road.
That's what I was gonna ask, is we have a priority.
To take a road and concentrate on one road and build it up as a capital project instead of just a willy-nilly 50,000 in gravel. It all goes on the Cassidy Road. It's not ditched, so it all goes on the side of the road and floats away.
but wasn't there something said last year that we couldn't do it that way anyway? Because I know it was brought up last year.
Yeah, and I can't remember what.
It was for so much gravel and I think you.
Right, well, it's in
Yes.
your general budget,
The
yes.
discussion was about adding money for stone.
Yeah.
And that's where they came up with, if it was class 3 road improvements, not just stone. It was, they were building for improving their infrastructure. They're saving for that to improve the infrastructure. It's not just stone. It's not to be spent every year.
Right.
That is to save until there is something to be done.
I just think it would be a good thing to have a plan on, as far as what road, especially talking to the taxpayers too. You know, like, here's our plan and here's the road we're gonna take care of first, so people are at least aware of that, unless we have something unforeseen happen.
I agree. I don't know how you will prioritize that,
Yep.
but yes, I
I
agree.
would think the most heavily traveled would be,
I agree.
the most heavily traveled would be the priority list.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking,
Absolutely.
Durkey Road.
Council, your close second?
I just think when town meeting comes, we'll be able to, at least, this is what our plan is, and we can make it clear to everybody.
And maybe you don't even have to rename it, you just need to prioritize those class 3 roads. So
Sure.
people know, once the money is here for number 1.
I agree with
We're
you.
going to do it. And
agree,
then once we build it back up, number 2 is going to get done.
Yep.
Yep. Absolutely.
And you know, there may come a time, hard to believe, but that we can put away money to possibly take care of some of these private roads or whatever. But we really should try to take care of what we have first,
I agree.
you know, and Jerky's a good choice because it's paved on both ends of it. So, yeah. But that's just my 2 cents. My other 2 cents is on the chiller in the Parks and Rec. I dropped that down to 10,000. We put it up to 30 because I didn't realize that Shelley was gonna add money after we got done talking about, well, we'd rather have them put money there than put it for a pickup. So my thought is if you put that down to 10 because of the life expectancy, hopefully, cross our fingers, of the chiller, that would allow you to save some money on that budget.
You know more about that equipment than anybody in this room. Do you have any thoughts about that?
$600,000 the first time, and that was the cheapest one that we were willing to, that was a proven system. That was in 2015. I couldn't tell you what one costs now.
Ty, do you know the life?
We suspected it would be 20 years.
Yep.
But Train has not, we have not asked Train.
Okay.
We just, that's the life of most HVAC equipment.
Absolutely.
So we have not asked Train. There is some significant work that needs to be done to it this off season, to keep it going, that they found during the service, fall startup this year.
Did you get a contract for service with them?
We have not approved it at our board to bring to the select board yet, but yes, we've been proposed one. One item I have on it that's not on my department is this parking lot here at the town clerk's office, at the town office. I know when, 3 years ago when we seal coated, I think it was 3 years ago when we seal coated the arena parking lot, it was, I wanna say $6,300 to do that parking lot. This parking lot is starting to see its life. I think it's putting some money in there to at least do the seal coating, the crack sealing maybe, would be smart before we have to actually throw some pavement in it. That's just my opinion.
I agree, because once it splits, you get water and freezes, it's it.
Yeah.
It's
Pretty
just,
spider web in front of the town, the fire department stores right now.
Still got a little bit in there.
Is there a dollar figure you're proposing? Something, because I'm just looking at it on here and I don't see any dollar figure, town office parking lot for 24, 25.
Oh, I'm sorry. That I'm proposing,
Okay, you brought it up, I just didn't know if there was a number you were looking at.
I would think 5,000 would be something that you could get a project, you know, something done here. If it was, you know, 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, the whole arena was, I wanna say 6,300, but I,
Is that seal coat and crack seal, or?
yes.
Yeah, I did it at a few schools, I had it bid out and I had a couple of those come back and it is preventative maintenance.
Yeah.
It really is, because like we just discussed, once it gets cracked, that's it. And water gets it, freezes, it pops, it's it.
Yeah. Butch and Nick have noticed a huge difference in the roads that they have crack sealed over the last few years.
Yep.
They have.
Definitely extended the life of the
Yep.
pavement.
We did the Franklin Road.
Carter Hill you did this year, I think.
What's that?
I think you did Carter
Yeah.
Hill this year.
A couple years ago, we did the Franklin Road.
Yes.
Blue Hand.
I don't have the
Yeah. Save this for the next meeting, if
Yeah.
we're gonna sit down and
Yeah.
talk about it, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got something to chew on till then.
Yeah. Here, you got more?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Oh,
So,
Okay, so the Friends of the Highgate Library are doing a quilt raffle. Lucy Fortin made a lovely queen-size quilt. Tickets are available through me or through the library.
Thank you, Ty.
Thank Ty.
I had emailed you copies of the personnel policy changes that are recommended. These recommendations came from VLTC, and we found out we had a big discrepancy when we hired Cody.
Right.
So there are lots of changes that need to be made in order to make us compliant. So I am looking for a motion to accept those.
No,
Make
this
a
is,
motion to accept the changes to the personnel policy.
second.
who was the first motion?
She made the motion.
Okay, you made the motion.
Kyle seconded.
Second. All in favor of having Sharon,
Oh, thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
aye,
I haven't read it yet, so I'm gonna,
saying, all,
I might, yeah.
all against? Nay, or?
You just abstaining? Is
Yeah,
that
I'll just abstain,
Okay.
whatever the neutral point, yeah, I don't remember getting that
Okay,
document,
so,
but.
so 4 and 1 abstain.
Okay. We did receive a brick grant of $131,775, and that's to study the entire Macy Road and trying to find out what's the most economically feasible thing to do with that road.
Excellent.
Whether we need to close it, move the road, find a different engineering solution, but the road is continuing to deteriorate at a pretty rapid rate. I did go on a site visit with Geodesign, which is a different company than what we have for the current engineers. They are much more qualified for that project. They are gonna get me some pricings on doing a possible peer review of the work that's already been done by the engineer that we hired. Because they had some pretty legitimate concerns about why there was no drainage in their solution, and a lot of things that just made common sense that was not in our original plan, so I'm a little nervous about going forward with a $3 million fix that falls in the river. So they're gonna get me some information. They're also going to bid on that, Macy Road study to do the whole thing, to see what really is the best financial option for the town. We can't keep doing $3 million fixes every couple of years. It's just, we can't do it. So that's that. I had down a lister question, so we're looking for some guidance from the select board to see, do you want us to look into having paid assessors, or do you want to explore interest from people in the town? So Matt said he might be interested. Carolyn, our current zoning administrator, might be interested. And that's an elected position, so they'd have to go on the ballot.
However, we do have a current vacant lister position.
That
We
could be
could
appointed.
appoint someone. I think as much cross-training we can get out of Amy and Pete before
Definitely.
they leave, the better.
Pete's not considering coming back?
No,
Doesn't sound it.
he said he was done.
So that's gonna be a very big hole, especially
Exactly.
if we get pulled for a reassessment.
So, yeah. So Amy has submitted a letter saying she's done effective town meeting, but she's on vacation the weeks leading up to that, so she technically will probably be done in February. Pete's term ends town meeting day anyways, and he's not re-upping. We have that third spot that's never been filled. So you can, I mean, it doesn't need to happen right now, but if we could get somebody in there at least, if that's the route you're gonna go. Yeah, to at least sit with them for a little, as much as I can. Because
It's tough to get
A
people
very
that are gonna
busy
do it.
time of year in that office with the grand list being frozen April 1st. They have to make sure that they go out and get all of their site visits done and all of the updates in the system before April 1st. So if someone is brand new on town meeting day with no training and they have 30 days to button up whatever's left, that's gonna be stressful for everybody.
there are resources, I mean, other listers, district advisors. I'm sure they'll have as much done as they can before they leave, but there's gonna be a lot to do to button up that grand list.
And Wendy did get a copy of an agreement that the town of Richmond has for paid assessors. And that's an hourly rate of $95 an hour, plus $47.50 per hour for travel. And if you need a senior appraiser, it'll be $145 an hour.
I will leave my job right now
Oh,
and take that one.
Yeah, but it's not full-time, Robin. We're talking
I'll supplement.
a few hours
I will
a
supplement
week.
with something else.
And that's why it's been so hard to fill.
Right,
Because
because
it
it's
is
not.
minimal hours at a minimal pay.
It's seasonally busier than others, like
Right.
spring is when they're very busy, summer's kind of a lull. So, I don't know.
Does the board have any thoughts?
I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but I'd like to appoint this fellow to the position.
Exactly. We have no other interested
If
parties
you're
yet.
interested in trying it, just to see if it's something you
Yeah.
might be interested in.
I can do it on Fridays. I don't work Fridays, so.
Would Amy do that?
They're in on Tuesdays.
Amy's in on Tuesdays, sometimes on Fridays, because we're not open to the public on Fridays, so Amy sometimes comes in on Fridays. So I did ask her if she thought she'd have any time to cross-train, and she has some, not a lot, but. So I don't know how to move forward and when.
Yeah, it's only like part-time on Tuesdays, right?
They're usually here pretty much a full day on Tuesday, seasonally, again.
Yeah.
You know, around the holidays, we don't usually see too much of them, and the month of March, they're usually super busy doing site visits and buttoning things up, but that's when they're gonna be gone.
They're gonna be leaving.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what the problem's gonna be once they go, if we're gonna be able to get, if Matt here likes the job, and likes to do it, we're gonna get 2 more people, or 1 more person.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
maybe he's not gonna like the job, and are we gonna get anybody?
Right. Right.
Especially
The
with time.
contract that Sharon quoted was from Nemrick, which is our software. So the people, usually the people that work for Nemrick have already worked in the town setting, and Nemrick has kind of scooped them up and brought them into their, you can come work for me now because you know the system and how it works. So they would know all of the ins and outs of the computer piece, and everything else is pretty, measuring standard. They don't know the area probably, but.
Do you want to put it out for letters of interest to appoint? Do you just want to appoint? Do you want to discuss it more to see if that's the route you want to go? I don't know.
I think time is our issue.
Time is ticking.
Let me see if I can change my work schedule to have Tuesdays off and work Fridays. Shouldn't be a problem. And then I can come talk to them, see about cross training.
That would probably be the best, come in and sit down with Amy and Pete.
They might possibly be able to work with him because they don't have a lot of time left, not that many weeks. Maybe they could, rather than him have to change his schedule, maybe they could possibly work with him on a Friday.
She might be more
We could
worried
ask
since
her.
the public
We could ask
isn't
her.
coming in. Might be less
Yeah.
distraction.
you can ask her who's gonna
The
do it.
worst thing she's gonna say is no.
Right.
Especially if we got
I
somebody
just
that's
think the
willing.
less distraction with no public coming in would be a lot better.
I don't expect much resistance in changing my schedule. So, if she's willing to do Fridays, that's great. If not, I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be an issue. Of course, I've been gone for 3 weeks. Who knows what's changed?
You can talk about it after we leave, so you're not staring at our faces.
Okay, so moving on.
Yes.
You asked about changing the speed limit on the St. Armor Road. The town can change the speed limit. You need to have a speed study, but that just means you have to have somebody sit in the car and count the cars and have a radar gun and show what the speed is. But it's perfectly doable on the town level, not a big issue, just has to be recorded. And then you can change it to 35 miles an hour. Richard, you should have the MVU Boys ice contract in front of you to sign.
Shoot, high school, yep. Locker room contract,
Yeah.
yep. Contract items from Cisco Boys Varsity Hockey Locker Room shall begin on November 1st, 2023 and end on March 30th, 2024. TOH reserves the right upon given 30 days written notice. Do you want, do I need to read all that or no? Okay.
Just tell them the cost.
Okay.
think it's on the second page.
18.
Payment, there we go. Rent payment shall be due and payable in advance on the first of each month to, no, installation. Arena rules. Should be here. Seconded. Season storage.
It was at the top of one of those pages.
It's at the top. Oh, here it is. Got it. It is $460 a month, equaling $1,840. The second party agrees to pay the rate for 5 years.
Okay, that's fine.
That's going,
You know, it's high because they lumped in some construction work that's being done,
Yes.
is that correct? Because the girls
Yes.
are only paying $400 for the season and they're paying $1,840 for the season.
Yeah, it's because the locker rooms were being redone, there was plumbing, electrical, and something else that was being done. So the town agreed, or the rec department agreed to pay for it as long as they could recoup their money in a contract, so that's what that is.
so it could have a motion to accept the MVU, the high school locker room contract.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Mary. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All, any names? Okay, ayes have it. 5-0.
You should have in front of you a letter from Franklin County Field Days. They are looking for an appropriation of $5,000 to help with moving, and redoing tracks and basically getting ready for a new field day. They are currently looking at another piece of property in Highgate. But they're asking every town for $5,000 to help with the cost. So I told them I would bring it before you.
Wouldn't that be a separate warrant article for the voters to vote on at town meeting?
Good, yeah.
Is it though? Did we lump the others into the budget?
That's social service appropriation.
So yeah, you could have a special, they could agree to do a special article as a yay or nay by the taxpayers.
And are you gonna do it? Are you gonna make them do a petition?
I think we ought to do it as that one and put it on the ballot. I don't know how you guys feel.
I feel the same way.
So this would be from the floor, not on the ballot, correct? It would be on the warning, but from the floor.
Yeah.
Until we can get that changed.
Okay, motion?
I was waiting, Scott and Vernon.
Yeah, let's, put it on the ballot.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we can have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. 5-0.
Okay, along with going to Australia ballot, we've heard from some people that The reason they don't wanna go to Australia ballot is because that's their time to get together. So what about if we proposed, instead of one information meeting, a couple of information meetings and we have food? So that if people wanted to come and have an information session, they could speak with their neighbors, they could all chit chat in the hall, so that they could see that there is another option, that we could do Australian ballot and still have that hometown gathering, food opportunity.
Could it be something like, I know some towns have it on a Monday night, you know?
Well, I was thinking of Thursday night, cause that's when you meet, but
Yeah. Well, I was trying to figure it, have it close to town meeting, so, so we're not getting away from it completely, and then that way we're not, if we had it on a Thursday or something before, people are gonna say, wow, here we go, we're getting away. And I think if we had something like on a Monday night, like I know some other towns do, and like have a meal or.
At the school?
If we have more than one, because I think you can have one the night before, that's fine. But for those that like to watch it, we would need to do it sooner than that to be televised. So people could watch the info session, because not everybody's gonna go to that dinner. I hope they do, but not everybody will. So I think we should do at least one a week or two out in February, like we normally do. And maybe something the night before, or maybe something the Thursday before. I don't know about you guys, I got a lot to do the night before town meeting besides eat.
Can you not do
Yeah,
that?
a lot to do.
We're not gonna be at that meeting.
yeah, it used to be town meeting was a full day affair.
Right.
You'd come, you'd discuss the school budget. By the time you got done haggling over that, it was lunchtime, the fire department would serve a meal. You'd come back, you'd do the town, but since we no longer do that with the, school budget, it's only, a few hours.
So why not do the Australian ballot, but also have a meal so that people who are used to coming in the morning can come and eat and vote and chat, and then people who need to get in and out can do that?
We can't vote Australian ballot until
Right.
they vote from the floor
Yeah.
to vote Australian ballot.
Yeah, it's to try to teach them that there's another way.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
Because I think what they're hanging on to is the gathering.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
And that's why I said, I know you girls have it, but have a lot to do the night before and stuff. But my only thing is go in it this way and don't just jump into something cold turkey. Go slow. That's what I'm
Just,
saying.
we're saying we're not gonna be at that meeting.
Well, really, for,
We will be setting up,
yeah.
so.
I know.
So yes, I see what you're saying about the thing the night before.
But have food at this town meeting, so then this will continue, so you still have the opportunity to come and chat and eat and snack.
And then they'll
Right.
do it again next year.
Next
You
year,
won't have
right, we'll just
any of
pull
that.
out the meeting part, right? They can still come, right, because that's the reason, because people aren't gonna come the night before, right? Everybody comes on town meeting day.
Well, the problem is
No.
you get less than 100 people showing up
We
on
had
town meeting day.
62
Yeah, we're trying to
people
62.
there last year.
62 people
Right, for
last
the
year.
floor vote, but everybody, those people all plan on coming to town meeting day. They don't plan on coming to the informational sessions.
Correct.
So everybody's coming, you have the food there, and you tell them we'd like to continue having a food and gathering for people who want it, but we want to make sure the voting part is accessible to everyone. So you still focus on the gathering, So then the following year, there's still food and snacks, I see you're smiling at me, food and snacks, so that people can still gather on town meeting day, but you've pulled out that floor vote part, and so that people who can, no, you don't like it.
No, it's just, they're both, they're connected at the hip.
Yeah, yeah.
They're connected at the hip, and
Yeah.
those people don't wanna just go there to have a, you know, for the BS session. They don't want the tradition to change, that's all there is to it.
Because that was the big, let's table this because we don't want to throw away this tradition. So that's what's being
I mean, the
held
whole
on.
point of this is just get more involvement, community involvement, obviously.
Yeah, I fought this because I work, I'm ways away from here and I get long days and I'm all for Australian ballot. I like the tradition, but it's the participation, like you said, 62 people making a decision for the whole town.
Yeah.
Versus we already proved it during COVID. You go Australian ballot, hundreds.
I already took
Which is still
PTO
sad,
that morning, so I will
but
be.
it's better.
But until people like you and Match are there at
Yeah.
the floor, because we have to change it from the floor.
From the
And
floor.
everybody that's there thinks it's the greatest thing, just like it is.
Yeah,
So it's hard to change.
yeah, I'll be there, PTO is approved,
Cool.
it's already in.
So I think if we can sell it with putting the emphasis on the gathering, the community, on the info session portion of it, and then everybody gets to vote the next day. You don't need to just be there at 9 o'clock Tuesday morning to vote on these big money things. Everybody can vote. I think it's still gonna be a hard sell, but I think we have to try.
Persistence.
We have to try. And I don't want them to table it. Make a decision. Stop kicking this can down the road. Make a decision.
Like right now?
No.
Oh,
That day.
I say I'm falling asleep right now.
No,
Okay.
but
Yeah, we do.
as an FYI,
Yeah.
each and every one of you need to be at town meeting. This has now been recorded. I want this known right now. Don't be a dummy. Show up.
Wow.
Had this already.
Pressure's on.
Poor Richard and I got stranded up there alone last year.
Yeah, that was ugly.
It was, yes, it was pretty hairy. Yeah. Poor Richard ain't got no hair left. He did pull it all out. Okay? So I'm just saying, please make arrangements to come. Now I have some bad news. Not only do you have to show up for town meeting, but when Highgate Mobile had their engineer come and do test wells, they found a problem. Their engineer tells me that it's not RL Valley's problem, that it's the town's problem. They're saying that somewhere there is an old underground fuel tank that's rusted through and has caused this problem.
Nice, it's probably in our back half.
We've, I called Richard Noel and I said, Richard, what do you know about possible tanks that might have been in there? Neither he or I think that there's anything to this, that it's the town's fault. But if it's over an 1,100 gallon tank and it's not Valley's property, it could cost the town a minimum of $10,000 to clean it up. If it's under $1,100, we could probably get away with about $250 before this fuel petroleum cleanup fund kicks in. So there is a possibility on the horizon that there's a $10,000 bill.
Just to fix it up.
Just a heads up. The well that was troubled was in the little park, the little triangle park. Should never have been a tank there. Don't know why that particular well is testing that way, but they are going to come in with ground penetrating radar, try to look for the tank. I have told them that I want to be on site when they come. because we really have some thoughts that we don't think it's a town.
So when you say they are, Valley's gonna do the investigation?
Yeah, Valley's, I think it's Vermont Tier,
Okay.
is gonna come and do it, and, we'll have a look, because the library property's pretty much been all torn up, because it has their mound system in it.
Right.
So it's not a whole lot of place otherwise that you could put an underground tank. Richard said at one time there used to be an old car wash there.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible that one of those drains, you know, you don't know. But we're gonna find out.
When's the study gonna be done on that?
We don't know, we're waiting to hear back for the ground penetrating radar. So,
Does the state put a timeline on that?
no, we are all working with the state.
Okay.
We're all in it together now, whether we like it or not. So, just one more thing. Frankly, that's all I got.
What's the letter on the trail?
Oh, yes, sorry. Okay, so, at one time, the rec department wanted to put a pavilion up for the rail trail at a cost of $300,000. So, we've done a little research. There's a couple of grants. We've made a nice quote to put everything the way the state requires, and to have a nice little pavilion like this, made out of cedar, installed. They'll deliver it and install it. It's about $38,000.
Big difference.
As I recall, the 37,000 was our share of that
No,
337,000.
75.
Oh, 70, sorry.
So, the state does require a 6-inch slab.
Right.
If we put in the picnic tables that they require that are ADA compliant, and we put in the other things, I've done my little drawing here. So in this 12 by 30 pavilion, you'd have an ADA compliant picnic table, regular picnic table, bike repair station, a kiosk for information, a bike rack, an ADA portalette, 2 trash containers, and a bench outside the pavilion. Grand total, about $82,000. There is 2 grants open right now until December 15th. One is the LVRT Community Grant. And then one is the VOREC, which is Vermont Outdoor Recreation Grant. I would like to use one grant to match the other and pay for the whole damn thing. So if I have your permission and your support by signing the letter, I will send that all in and see if we can't buy ourselves a $0 beautiful pavilion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that one. Big time. Good job, Jared.
Do we,
Yeah,
do we know where that would go?
Yes, it would go in the, it's funny because the rail trail actually has an 85-foot right of way.
Yep.
Between basically where the field starts
Oh, yeah.
over to the Gore Road.
Okay,
So it's actually going to be in their right of way,
okay.
which I've already talked to them. They're gonna come and do a site visit. We'll map it all out, and there should be no cost for right of way.
Okay.
So this is what they call a level 2 trailhead, and that's what the state would like to see in Highgate. So it fits perfectly.
Okay.
So it would go back down towards the tower?
It would be like in front of the tower, between the tower and the rail trail. So you'd have a nice open pavilion there.
So who maintains this? Because it's free, free's great.
The
So
rec
is our little
department.
bus stop over there that looks like garbage.
Yeah, the rec department. Their
Okay.
buildings and grounds would be required to
Okay.
maintain that.
Well, I am gonna tell you that some research needs to be done there, because when I worked at the school, there's a drainage pipe that goes underneath the school that comes out by the rail trail on the other side, and I tried to access a lot of people to get some information on that. So I know that I terminated it outside of the school because it goes onto the playground and kept getting places where we would get voids. It would open up holes. We were able to trace it in plans. It goes under the school and goes right there by the rail trail. So I just think some research should be done, and if there's anything, because that used to be at one time a creamery or I mean, just to see what's underneath the ground there and just to check before we put anything there.
So you think it goes underneath the rail trail onto the rec?
Somewhere in that parking lot is where it went, and we couldn't figure out exactly without getting out with, because I talked to Doug Rollo to come out and start digging up to look, and I talked to even RJ Fournier, who owns the property on the other side, to try to find out if we could dig, and he said he didn't care, but we couldn't find where that ended up over in that parking lot or over in that area somewhere. I just think we should do some research to find out what's there before we put a slab.
You'll put a slab, just see it sink in the ground.
I'd hate to see something like that happen on the playground. I had 5 voids that opened up. I was able to find some plans back a while ago, and it showed that, and I had Dougie dig it up, and I think it's a 10-inch hubbed, if you want to call it, concrete or
Like a clay?
like clay.
A little clay tile.
Yeah, and that's where it was, but it goes right under the school, right out to there by the rail trail. We couldn't find where it was. The plans show it, but we couldn't find where it was. So, just as a point of interest, that if we decide to do that, there's some research that's gonna have to be done, at least to find out if it's in there.
I wonder if the state has, theoretically, they would ask permission to go underneath the rail trail, but.
And I know that there's plans at the school somewhere that shows that, and shows that pipe that went through there, because I was able to find that.
Well, I know Butch talked one time about digging, he never, you guys never dug that?
We never dug anything because we were able to terminate it outside, and we just filled the hole full of the actual pipe itself full.
Yeah.
And Dougie came and we kept digging until we were able to cap it from outside the school to where it went out into the playground. We were able to fill that whole thing in. We dug it up and filled it all in right there. But the plans did show, like I said, it goes underneath the school, right out the other side where the parking lot is in the back, where the new drainage is there, and it goes right there up to, right by the rail trail. So, but we were not able to find exactly where it was. And I know, like we said, the creamery was there at one time. There may be, who knows what's in the ground there.
Right.
So, I just hate to see us do that, and like Kyle said, we end up with a sunken slab.
So do we hold off on this, or?
I think we could put in for the grant, absolutely, because it's to the 15th, let's put in to do that, but there may be some things we have to look at before we actually physically do it.
Yeah, they have
So,
to adjust it.
but I'd say definitely we should go forward with the grant.
So,
The motion's been made, it's been seconded, I just wanted to be able to put some
Okay.
opinion on what's going on.
so, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, 5-0. So do we sign this, Sharon?
Yes, please. Yes, it's part of the grant application. So it was coming off the old brick school?
It's coming from it goes underneath, best way to put it is by where that apple tree in the back, and it comes underneath the 3rd and 4th grade, comes out the other side of the school and runs, and when we redid the parking lot out there, we didn't find it. We did find that there was a tank in the ground that we had to remove, but continued up through to the rail trail. The plans even, like I said, showed it, but we didn't know, we couldn't find where that was, but we didn't see it on the, when we dug up that parking lot and redid it.
And I lied, there is one more thing. There is a copy of select board report. Richard had, asked to have the library as part of the select board report. If that meets with your approval, we'll put that in the town report.
Have a library as well.
You wanted to add a piece about the library in their select board report.
Yeah, looks good to me.
That was fine. I already read it.
Alright, then I have nothing for executive. Give you time to think about everything and
Just make the motion to adjourn.
I'll bring up that,
The route?
yeah,
Well, I was gonna talk to you after.
okay, yeah. Okay,
I'll just talk to you after.
okay. Okay, okay. Stop. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye.